meters up in the air in the first-class cabin on a flight to that next big international keynote. Is that where you want to be? Yes. Great, you're in the right place, because tonight we're talking about how to get from here to there, because I'm making the wild assumption that if you're here right now, you're not there right now. And it's equally fair if you make the assumption that if I'm here right now, I'm not there either. Good point. So here comes the disclaimer. See, I am not qualified to talk to you about bookability. That's not imposter syndrome, it's not low self-esteem, it's not even false modesty. It's a fact. I am not qualified to speak about bookability based on my own experience. But I have a vested interest in helping speakers to go from here to there. My clients, my audiences, you. Because when you succeed, I succeed. So though I'm not qualified to speak on it in my own right, I can very confidently stand on the shoulders of giants tonight. The experts in the field, speakers, speaker bureau agents, and people who've made it, people who already are there, to share with you what that elusive X factor is that makes great speakers, well-paid speakers. Are you ready?
Yeah.
To be bookable?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, what does it mean? This evening, you've been listening to the Speaker Factor contestants, and you know that they're scored, rated on 4 criteria. I think they know what it is. I think the judges painfully know what it is right now after a whole evening of judging. Let's see how well you remembered. Who's paying attention? So the first factor is stagecraft. 20%. The next 20% is for your script. The next 20% for delivery. And the remaining 40% is all for bookability. That's it. Bookability. But I can tell you a secret. The Speaker Factor contestants have been practicing, they've been doing all kinds of things, but they have been scratching their heads going, what's bookability? And if you think that is a problem, imagine how the poor judges must feel. Because they have a fantastic Speaker Factor contest guide that tells them exactly what's going on in this situation, what to do and how to judge people, and they get all the criteria and they get a definition of bookability. Now tonight we have a couple of guests here who've come to support the Speaker Factor contestants. Can we please give them a And apparently they have been warned that this whole speaking thing is kind of contagious. So you come here one night and you find yourself coming back. Now, one of them this evening is Anthony Peter, who's been kind enough to share with us the Speaker Factor contest guide definition of bookability. Take it away, Peter, and let's give him a big hand. So what's bookability? Here's what the judges have. Ooh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The guys who will be competing here next year, they will be competing with me. I'm now having unfair advantage. I'm on the TAF now. I'm feeling the TAF, so guys, I've already got the other 20%. So you need to bring this hard. So bookability is 40%. Is the speaker likely to be booked? Is their talk likely to be paid for based on their topic? Call to action and relevance to the proposed audience. The bookability of a speech is defined as being something their intended market will pay for. not as a preference of the judge. So that is what bookability is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Peter, thank you so much, Anthony. I will see if I can get my act together here again. Right, so, that's bookable. So, from bookability, ooh, are we good? Yeah. Fantastic. So that bookability definition helps our judges to decide, but now it also helps them see this is about the audience, the intended audience. That is why when you heard every speaker, you heard who their audience is. It matters because would they be bookable within that audience? So that helps us put this whole business in place, bookability. But I'd like to share with you how this evening is going to go down, because we'd like to define bookability, but then we're going to look at these expert opinions. They have gone so far to even try and create a mathematical formula for calculating bookability. And I'll be sharing the core elements of that with you. I'll even be so bold, though I am unqualified, to throw my hat in the ring with a few opinions of my own here and there. But I realize that we're all speakers. So we are going to have a few moments of interaction because I know you need to let it out. So we will have those. Hold on to your hats, and we also are going to have a little bit of a Q&A and C before I wrap up. Q&A and C, because I know as speakers you're going to have questions, and some of you will have the answers, and of course you will have comments. Know your audience. So we're going to do that, but stick around, because before we bring this baby home and land that plane, where you're flying first class, before we land that plane, I would like to share with you a tool that can help to boost your bookability and the ways to get you into more bookability with bookability boosters. Right, so do we have a deal?
Yes.
Outstanding. A big part of bookability, as you've heard from this definition, is really about three things: who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. Who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. And she's starting already. Who you are, what you do, and who you do it for.
Yes.
So, I know as a speaker it's difficult to keep quiet, but I challenge you to a minute to think by yourself how you introduce yourself to people, saying who you are, what you do, and who you do it for, so that if the next person you speak to is the one who could book you, that they will want to do that. So, a minute of the most difficult thing in a speaker's world, silence. Your minute starts now. Who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. Okay, I know you can't keep it in any longer. You want to tell your neighbor. So whether you know them or not, take a moment, turn to your neighbor, and decide who's going to go first. Like, you can let the young ones go first. Whoever is youngest, you go first, and you're going to tell them who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. Let's go. The youngest, and when they're done, the oldest. Right, yes.
My partner Ponzo said he is a revivalist. He ignites people and inspires people to find their purpose in life, and he does it for everyone, because the greatest tragedy
in life.
What? Yeah?
Ooh, very nice, very nice. If you remember, and with Poncho and all this igniting, I hope we have all our fire hazards. There it is. Right, there's the fire hose. Very nice. Anybody else? What did your partner say? Anything that stuck with you? It doesn't have to be the whole thing. Jabu.
My partner said that he awakens heroes who are sleeping.
Oh, I see we don't have any sleeping heroes here tonight. Not yet. Give me 45 minutes and let's see what I can do.
He's a conscious leadership expert. He awakens leaders to be consciously aware in all areas of their lives.
Thank you so much, Jabu. Yes, there we go. Now this is really important, right? Keeping everybody awake in the first place. But that is what we want. What do we have that is memorable? So you had that quiet moment. I wonder if you gave yourself a score out of 10 on your who you are, what you do, and who you do it for. Where are you? That little elevator pitch is really important because you never know who's listening. Maybe it's not even the person you're speaking to, but the one who's overhearing you, right? So it really, really matters. There is the heart of Bookability. We're going to be hearing from a lot of experts tonight. But what's inside the box? That's what it's really about. So one of the beginnings of Bookability is really understanding that question. Poncho said earlier this evening, it is that ultimate question. I don't know what the other four are, Poncho, but that question, who you are. And what are you here for? Right, wherever you're at. And the good news is, some of you have been evolving, right? I was overhearing a little bit here in the back, Taryn and Gerald were saying, like, pick a lane, right? Because I keep getting a new thing. But it's true, right? We evolve. So while it's important to have that thing that you do, be aware. You're gonna grow. If you're not growing, you're deteriorating. So if you're growing, good job. Great. So I speak about these experts. Let's meet one of them. This is Maria Franzoni, who has come across her work on the internet and so on. Right. A couple of the speakers who've been in the game for a while have heard that she used to own a speaker's bureau. Today, she's a speaking business coach. This is a little bit like working for YouTube and then becoming the guy who tells people how to crack the YouTube code. So she was in the speaking business, now she tells people how to win the game. Very smart move. So she had an expectation because she now got to run the numbers, right? She was matching up all these great speakers. If you look at her website, you'll be like, whoa, is that Bob Geldof? Yes, that's Bob Geldof. This is the kind of person that she was booking and the caliber of events that she had. So she could see a lot of patterns and she ran the numbers and she went like, okay, Pareto principle, right? 80, 20, probably 80% of the gigs are gonna go to 20% of the people. You've come across this principle right before. 80% of your money goes to 20% of your expenses. 80% of your wardrobe goes to 20% of what you wear all the time. Unless you're me, then it's 99-1. As it turns out, it's the same in the speaking world. 99-1, just like my wardrobe. She realized that 1% of the speakers were getting booked 99% of the time. And one big question comes up, right? Huh? Why? Why? What is the dividing factor? And she called it Bookability. So she created a formula, and it's not my place to share with you the formula because I want you to go and follow her, look at her work, and find out more. Maria Franzoni's Bookability formula consists of a couple of elements, and I'll share with you the ones that stand out for me most. We've got R, K, M, E, V. This is not an eye test. This is just for the letters of the main point. And R is for what a speaker must be. A speaker must be relevant. Bookability, right? That's why we want to know. Is this going to scratch the itch that your ideal audience has? are you relevant to the questions they have? And from a marketing point of view, who's a coach? Look at that, we've got like so many coaches around here. And you guys are always positive, right? Like, do the positive thing. Never say no. Your subconscious mind doesn't hear no, right? The thing is, when people hear what's bad, they pay attention, right? And this is why the relevance is not only about the good stuff you can tell people, it's also about the bad stuff, solving their problems. Because problems are the gift wrap of opportunity. So, if you can solve their problems, you are relevant to them. That's the R. Another one I really like, because I've got a good story about it, is the K. The K is to be bookable, a speaker must be known. Known. You must be known to speak.
Yeah.
And you must be known to speak about the thing you speak about. So here at the PSASA, we have a little bit of a pandemic going on, because speakers often come here to speak about something that they happen to know, but it's not the thing they actually speak about. And then everybody thinks you're the expert on that thing, but nobody actually knows what you really speak about. This is something we need to change when we do our elevator pitch, when we tell them who we are, what we do, and who we do it for, right? So it's our responsibility to make sure that people know what we speak about, but it's also our responsibility to know that we speak. Who is there in your world that doesn't know that you're a speaker or an aspiring speaker? So here's my story. A member of my media strategy mafia, you've heard of this, she said she thinks maybe she wants to start speaking professionally. We had a consultation, and it turned out that she had been speaking as part of her work. She just never thought to bill for it. She never thought to call herself a speaker. So I said to her, let's play a game. How about you change your LinkedIn headline so that the first thing after the thing you do, what you're known for, is speaker. She said, okay, that sounds like fun. She's the kind of person who already did it before I'd finished my sentence. So she comes out, her LinkedIn headline now says, this is what she does, she's a speaker. 2 days later, an existing acquaintance contacted her and said, I didn't know you speak. I mean, I know you speak, I saw you do it so well, but I didn't know you speak. They offered her money. 2 days.
Sure.
Who should know that you speak? So K for known is a very important one. The others, okay, I'll tell you M is for memorable. Memorable, we're going to come back to that one. And the others you can learn from Maria Franzoni. But the V is really, really important because that's about the value that you bring. And then there's this E. You'll see it's a little E. And that E is not a bookability builder like all the others. That is a bookability breaker. And that E is for something that, ooh, here's a riddle for you. What gets bigger to make your bookability smaller?
Ego.
Your ego. When your ego gets so big because you're so successful and you're so important and you're such a hotshot, that's the day when your bookability starts to go down because you stop preparing, you stop being respectful, you stop following the rules, you stop caring. So keep that ego in check. And that is quite a job. It's an inside job, and we'll be speaking about that soon. I'm really serious about my mafia mythology this evening. That is an inside job. We'll get to it. So let's go local. This is Bronwyn Hesketh. She's the doyenne of speaking bureaus in South Africa, and she nowadays actually owns several speaking bureaus under different names. This is something to know about. She wrote a book called Speaker Savvy, from all the things that she learned that speakers are doing well, the bookability builders and the bookability breakers. And there's plenty of wonderful information there. It's a good book to read. I'm going to recommend others. If you're going to pick one for people who are starting out, I'll show you which ones you should pick. But if you're thinking how to keep it well, I mean, look at that fantastic subtitle of hers, Wisdom from the Dark Side. The things you need to know. But this is the core of what she says. If you're thinking a speaking bureau is going to solve your problem of getting booked, here's the bad news. Nobody wants you until you're somebody. And by the time you're somebody, you don't really need them anymore. She didn't say that part, obviously.
Actually, she said that to me in person.
Oh, she didn't say it in the book. Alrighty, so now let's move on, because now here's the dilemma. How do you get from there to where you want to go, right? So that nobody wants to work with you. How do you become the somebody that people want to book? Fortunately, there are ways and means, and here in our own professional speaking association, we actually have people who solve the problem. Because it's really funny that people go, how do I become a better speaker, right? That's a common question. But what's the most common question? It starts with how much should I?
Yes.
How much should I charge? It's such a tricky question, and there are so many variables. But a solution was attempted by the intrepid former president of the PSASA, Charlotte Kemp, the future's alchemist, who is this year's Global Speakers Federation president, and Bruce Wade, a strategic story engineer, the former president of the PSASA, who also has so much incredible business insight. And because they're both incurable geeks, they thought the right way to do this is a mathematical formula. But there's a secret about the mathematical formula, which they've called the Kemp-Wade formula, and that is not actually about the numbers. It's about the principles, and it's about the process that you go through. So I'm going to show you a bit of their formula, and once again, I'm absolutely not going to give you the formula, because I want you to buy their book. I got this book from Charlotte Kemp at Cape Town Airport. She signed it for me, she gave it to me. I said, great, in-flight reading. I'll see if I can finish this baby before I get to Joburg. I was riveted. Chicken or fish, chicken or fish? Shh. And reading. It was one of those flights that just disappeared in time because I was glued to this book. And it immediately changed what I offer as a speaker. It immediately upped my game. Before the time I got to the last page. And then I thought, okay, great, I'll go implement that. Enjoyed it, thanked Charlotte, wrote a little review. Forgot about it. I mean, did this stuff. But didn't think about the book again until a few weeks ago. And you know what? The book changed. It's a different book than the one I read just a few months ago. You know why? I'm a different speaker than I was a couple of months ago. So this, if you're going to buy a book, this is the book. Because it really puts the code in there. And the process of evaluating yourself throughout this book is really the heart of what Bookability is about. But it's good to know a couple of the principles in there. So let's take a look what they have to say. They have a complicated formula that includes a lot of factors. And the Bookability factors that they speak about really come down to two main areas. The one is your invested career, and the other is your client value. So let's talk about your invested career first. There are many little components in here. This is a good time to be paying attention because you might want to see which are the ones that are going to make the biggest difference for you. What are the ones that you want to work on, right? We've got a scientist in the audience, at least one. So Ian can give you a stronger opinion on where the math behind this lies. That's not my department, fortunately. But there are some important mathematical elements here, and those are in the twos. Those twos are for squared. And that is a really important key. Because, like, my math is not very good, but you're gonna help me here, right? 1 squared is 1 times 1, so that's
1.
1, thank you. Am I still good here? Okay, fantastic. 10 times 10, so 10 squared.
100.
I'm getting out of my depth, so we're good, right. 10 squared is 100. Nice. Now, 10 is obviously, let's say out of 10, that's a perfect score. If you don't have 10 out of 10, but you have a really good score, like 9, 9 squared, 81. That's a big difference down from 100 to 81, right? It makes a very, very big difference. So those things with a squared are the important ones. Okay, if you want to take notes, here's where we go. The first one in your invested career with the little books, that is about your topic expertise. Could be any studies you have, your academic qualifications, your certifications, the papers, you know. But it's also about your expert assets, things like books you've written, right, for the authors in the house, courses you have written, programs you've created, like Teresa was speaking about. These things are all expert assets. So when you put those things together, and there are other elements, that is a big part of your invested career. It adds to your value. The next one is for thought leadership. Unlike a book, which people would have to buy, your thought leadership is out there in the public. So when you have a newspaper column, when you have a radio show, that stuff is what makes people recognize your name. So how are you doing on thought leadership out there in the world? Does that make you known, right? Are you known to talk on that topic? And then the next one, the squared one, this is super, super important. This is SS, so that goes with a squared, right? Speaking skill set. Your speaking skill set obviously makes you bookable, because if it's torture to listen to you, people probably won't book you more than once, no matter how good you look on paper. This is your time in the business and the international experience you might have, but also good old-fashioned, how good is your speech and how well do you present it? That's all part of your speaking skills kit, and it is squared. So it's really, really important. And let's come back to the next one is the star. That's a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. So that is your fame value. It's really, really unfair that somebody who may have absolutely no speaking talent is going to take gigs off your plate. But it's true, because people will recognize their name. They might be a flash in the pan, so it might not last long once they go out of fashion, but it's true. The good news is you can hijack that game too, right? So you can also build your fame value. The tool I show you this evening is one step in that direction. That's your invested career. The other element is client value. Of course, we saw with Maria Franzoni's formula also, she had the big red V. This is about the value that you give. So there are many elements in here. A lot of it is about that gift wrap of opportunity, the problem. So the first part is about your insight on the problem, your clarity on the problem that a client would have or that an audience would have. Again, that's relevance, right? And then we have this overlapping circle. This is about your solution, right? The clarity that you can bring on the solution. And this includes something amazing called a blueprint. And if you haven't dealt with a blueprint before, you haven't been at many PSASA meetings. A blueprint, here's an example, is a visual representation of what you offer, so that people can easily understand what it's about. That's a great way that your clients can better understand your value. And then also, what about your methodology? If you've got a methodology and you've proven that it works, this is really compelling evidence, right? So all those things going into your clarity on the solution. The big check is how much value does it have to the client, the perceived value of your solution. And finally, you have your industry knowledge. So if you know the industry well, you can speak to them better. This is a lot of stuff, so I'll run you through slowly. Invested career is your topic expertise, your very specifically your thought leadership, and then the big one that's squared is your speaking skill set. Speaking skill set, so that's the big one, and fame value. And then on the client value, we have your clarity on the problem, clarity on the solution, your perceived value of your solution, and your industry knowledge. All these things are the bookability builders. What about the bookability breakers? Those are the little star down at the bottom. They say the bookability breakers are imposter syndrome. You've got the imposter syndrome, even if you don't say a word, people can smell it. We know when somebody's got that. The other one is what they call no self-esteem. They didn't even go for low, they just went next. Low, no self-esteem, nothing. And for client value, the problem is there are poor positioning. Get that. That's our problem when we're needing to pick a lane, right? It's that, how do I position myself in the right place, in the right way, especially if I'm changing direction and evolving. And also poor performance. So those things are serious bookability breakers. It's time for the speakers to speak. Now that you've made friends with your neighbor, give them a little revisit. And how about this? Share with your neighbor, what is the bookability builder that will make the biggest difference for you? The bookability builder that will make the biggest difference for you. Right. Let's take a minute or two and share with your neighbor. The bookability builder that will make the biggest difference for me is... Now, we see all these different things, bookability builders, bookability breakers, and then maybe there's a way to completely flummox the formula. So I said I was going to throw my own hat in the ring with an opinion, right? My opinion is this: you just might have a wild card. When you get the joker in the pack, it doesn't matter what other cards you have. The truth is, you can win anyway. So what's your wild card? For Trevor Noah, who happens to be the very best paid speaker that South Africa has ever produced, even though he's now a naturalized American citizen, you know what he bills? So he starts at $500,000 US. 500,000 US dollars. Like, we could do that and do 1 gig a year. And I'll take you all
for
to
5
the
years.
convention. We're staying at the Capitol. That's Trevor, but why? He says himself he was born a crime.
Yes.
The pain, the struggle, that took him to where he is today. We love him for his humor, but really, we love him for his heart. There's his wild card. Who's heard of Eckhart Tolle?
Oh yeah.
Author of The Power of Now, unassuming, quiet little man. Not wildly attractive, maybe not even incredibly exciting to listen to, but he's changed lives. Wild card. I change people's lives. I don't have to dress up, right? Who needs that? It's all about that something special. And that wild card is already inside you, who you are. what you do and who you do it for. The way that you do it is special. So one of the ways to build all that stuff is right here at the PSASA. And if you are not a member yet, look into it, talk to a member. And if you are you taking advantage of everything? The master classes, the live meetings, the convention, the speaking courses, the speaking classes. There's so much to help you evolve. And are you talking about it? Are you making it public so people will know that you are a speaker, right? All very, very important. But the thing is this, when you're sitting up there in that incredible first-class cabin on your next flight to that international keynote, are you feeling confident, calm? Are you feeling healthy, as Russell and Lorraine reminded us? Do you know that everything's running nicely at home? Do you know that you have what it takes to go and deliver a speech that is bookable? You see, really all this begins with that inside job. It begins with who you are, how you take care of yourself, the practices, the processes, and the purpose. As we heard from Poncho, get the fire hose. The purpose that you're here for. That's your wild card. So I would like to share with you a little tool that can help you to boost your fame value and get all the pieces that you need in place. It's called Speaker Score, and a couple of you have used it before. I think Taryn Lee, yes. Anybody else using Speaker Score? Ian, fantastic. So you'll find them on that website. It is amazing because what happens is people can rate your presentation, and they very, very simply go through, rate your presentation, say a few words about you, and you end up with a testimonial. And not only that, they go away with goodies. You can give them things like your slides or a useful handout and so on. And so tonight, the two gifts you're taking home is this information of Speaker Score. So you've got homework. You're going to go set up your Speaker Score profile so that you can start tracking your speaking presentations, right? And get famous for it, get known. And I'm also going to ask you a favor because I'd like to give you some Bookability boosters that you can go and use at home. And they're all completely gift, free of charge, gratis. But you're going to work for it, baby. To get your Bookability boosters, scan the QR code or click the link in the description to this video. This is an audience recording of a presentation to the PSASA Pretoria Chapter. The PSASA is the Professional Speakers Association of Southern Africa, which provides support to professional speakers and aspiring professional speakers to build their speaking business.